We're ready.
All right. Ray?
Yeah.
All right. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States
of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Trish.
Mrs. Brew?
Here.
Mr. Kramer?
Here.
Mr. Menegini?
Here.
Mr. Marraro?
Here.
Mr. Pop?
Here.
We'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion? Go
I have
ahead.
one item, Candy, for presentation on the Marion Park. Tony was not available tonight. He had a family emergency, so we're going to ask him to table that to a future meeting.
Okay.
I make a motion, we table the Marion Park presentation for Mr. Tony Adams to the next meeting and approve the agenda for
Second.
Kramer?
Yes.
Or wait, Pop, who seconded that?
Marraro.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Marraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes. On to the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of July 20th, 2020, full session of July 20th, 2020. Is there any questions on the minutes? If not, I need a motion.
I make a motion, we approve the regular meeting of July 20th, 2020.
Second.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Marraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Who seconded?
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
I make a motion, we approve the closed session of July 20th, 2020.
Or second.
Third.
Mr. Marraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Move on to the approval of Manifest 2020-15. Any questions?
Who's up? Candy, who's up for questions? I have one.
I said Scott.
Oh, I'm sorry. I couldn't hear you.
All right. I just have one. Department of Public Works, Ray. I know it's just a silly question, but you go down Norway Auto Parts. It's got fuel, lube, fuel, and oil. Is Norway Auto Parts supplying fuel now? It was for 119.20. I'm sure it was probably some type of fuel injection or something like that. All I see is fuel.
I'll get an explanation from that invoice. Get it
Okay.
to you.
That's all I have.
I have none.
Jeff?
Yeah, page 4 or 6, under the water fund, I see an advertisement in June to the Daily News for 11/01/60. Was that for advertising for a worker or a job listing?
No, I'm going to guess, and I'll have to verify that, but we have to put out our water report on an annual basis, our annual
Okay.
water report.
And
Oh,
the
we
Daily
have
News
to
charges us
advertise.
$1,100 to do that?
Yeah, it's huge. It's a big advertisement.
Oh, okay.
And we're required to put it in, and we have to do it in the paper. We can't just, it has to go in that's the only paper of general circulation.
Gotcha. Thank
Ray,
you.
you're correct on that, just to let you know. That's what it was.
Thank you.
Is that it, Jeff?
That's it. Yep.
Lee?
Yeah, on what Jeff was talking about there's 5 different items on for the Daily News, which is $1,941. Now, I know there's rules and regulations on this, but I mean, we used to be able to go with the Norway Current. My question is, I've asked this before, why can't we go with Luff's advertiser? I know the township does. I have no idea what their price is, but nothing else, you can compare prices.
They're not considered a paper of general circulation.
And they only advertise, is it once a month?
Right, but they're not, they're
No,
not.
every week.
We checked, we did a legal on that. They're not a paper of general
You
circulation.
did check for sure. Okay, so that means the township's wrong.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, I have none. Do I have a motion, manifest? Do I have a motion?
We all look.
I'll make a motion, we approve manifest number 2020-15 in the amount of $322,388.29.
Support.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew? Drew,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Mr. Mararo.
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to the answers from the previous manifest questions. Ray?
Well, there was only one question that came out, and that was the utility sales and service. That was unit number 601. That was a cable bucket truck.
Okay. Anyone wishing to address the council on any agenda item will be unmuted and given an opportunity to make their comments. State your name and address for the records. Comments limited to 3 minutes.
Okay, I'm gonna unmute. Let's see. I'm gonna unmute everybody and. Okay, I don't have any. We don't have anybody.
All righty. We'll move on to public hearing. Ordinance 435. Ray?
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. We have a couple public hearing, a couple ordinances that we're going to talk about tonight. Ordinance 435 was actually started during the course of this winter, where we noticed that we did not have any language for snowmobiles and snowmobile movement around the community. We went through first and second hearing, and at that time we said we were going to hold off on having the public hearing until we were able to meet again. We were meeting again, and I published, and then we're not meeting. So I said, well, let's just move forward with the public hearing tonight. And basically, we didn't have very many questions during the first and second reading. If you noticed, the couple of items that we did include from council comment, we did specify in that ordinance no crossing of Main Street or on Main Street. So we took care of the Main Street question.
Yeah, that's good.
Ray, weren't we supposed to have a motion to go into a public hearing?
Oh, yeah, yes, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry about that, guys. Do I have a motion to go into the public hearing?
I'll make a motion, we go into a public hearing.
Support.
Just keeping things legal.
Thanks, Lee.
Here's our lawyer. Come on, Grant. You know.
I was trying to give Lee a discount.
How's it going, Point J?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Mr. Mararo,
Yes.
Mr. Pop.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Anderson.
Okay. Again, thank you, Madam Mayor. Like I said, we've gone through the 2 readings, public readings. We did not receive any comments, any written comments, or anybody call in in the advertisement. But we did make a couple of those changes that you requested in the previous meeting. I don't know if council has any other questions.
I have no questions.
None.
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 The only question I have is still about the snowmobiles for school access. Does the school allow snowmobiles to go to the school?
Andy, you probably know, I don't believe so, do they?
I've
I
never
don't-
seen one sitting in a parking lot.
No.
Neither, no.
That is, in fact, that would be a private property question. They could access up to the property line, but then that would be the school's decision as to letting them have access.
But we have it written. We have it written in here for the purpose of traveling to school. A snowmobile may not be operated.
I don't think.
I don't have an answer
Is
for
that a
that.
bad thing? Or we break?
I'm not sure. I'm just bringing up the question that we have it written that it may not be operated for the purpose of traveling to school. And I don't know if are they allowed to bring the snowmobiles to school or not? Because if they are, I mean, would kids do that? I don't know.
I've never seen anybody do it, and I've never had it. I was on there for 13 years, and I don't think I ever seen a snowmobile over there.
Okay.
With living next to the school, I have never seen a kid driving to school or driving away from school or a snowmobile sitting in a parking lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Just a thought, folks, perhaps, whether they do or don't, maybe that's up to the school, whether or not we want to make it illegal if the young man or woman is operating within all other legal means. Do we care where they're going?
I don't care.
No, that's fine if you leave it in there, because that's up to the school to.
Yeah.
But if we leave it in, then it would be illegal.
Right.
If the school said it was okay.
Let's just strike it.
Like I said, it's up to council. I was just kind of bringing up a point based on the commentary from council a little bit.
So you think we should keep it in there?
I'd hate to ticket it. I'd hate to have the officers ticket a young man or woman for otherwise operating legally going to school if the school allows it.
Yeah, I would say we strike it.
Yeah, if they're traveling in the community on a, meeting all the other provisions, like I said, it's a private property issue. The school could say, that they don't allow it, and that would be up to the school.
That's fine.
So we'll strike A and relabel those.
Maybe can we add kids can't ride mopeds to school? I'd prefer that. Get the mopeds off the streets.
Or the dirt bikes and four-wheelers that are flying by the house every night.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any other questions or comments on that ordinance? If not, we'll move on to the next one.
We should probably should we close the public hearing and reopen?
You're on mute, Grant.
I didn't hear, was the motion to go in just as to 435, or was it referenced just open meeting, public hearing referencing the ordinances, both of them?
I think it was just a public hearing to go into public hearing.
I think we're okay continuing on. We're in public hearing regarding both ordinances.
Okay.
So
Labeled
we
as
cannot
public
vote on
hearing
this.
agenda.
We cannot vote on this tonight then?
Yeah, we can. It's actually up on
In the
the
appointments and presentations.
Oh, okay.
Communications.
Okay,
Okay,
so
other-
so the next ordinance is ordinance number 437. We did not have readings on this ordinance. It's a pretty straightforward ordinance request where we were asked by a resident homeowner that was trying to sell their house. They happen to be one of a few homeowners that actually their property touches into that FEMA floodplain zone along White Creek. There's not many, and when we went through this in 2008, we did not proceed because there was no real impact at that point, at that time, from what we could see. Iron Mountain and Kingsford both, and the townships, they proceeded in the same manner. And what the ordinance basically says is that we're going to allow for the program. And then later on, we have a resolution, which then it's basically an agreement with the county and the county construction code, and they handle the code aspects of the FEMA flood program. So basically, we're just allowing to be part of that, and then having the administration handled through the construction code. And there's really no downside on our part, because you'll find that if there's financing involved in some of these property transactions, that they have to have flood insurance, and they're really the only reasonable means if you're touching that floodplain is to work through the FEMA program to get the FEMA flood insurance.
Yes, yep, that is correct.
So it's a pretty straightforward program, just an application and council ordinance and resolution, again, with the construction code.
It's a very good thing for the property owners that fall into that, because otherwise those homes can be tough to insure.
Yep.
Any other questions? If not, we need a motion to go back into open session.
I motion that we go back into open session.
Support.
We'll move on to,
Yes.
Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Mr. Mararo,
Yes.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew.
yes. We'll move on to appointments and presentations. Presentation IT Security Plan, FDS.
Okay, I'm gonna promote Jesse over to panelist, and he's going to give us a presentation on our cybersecurity plan. So we'll give him a second here to get in. So Jesse, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
That was crazy.
That was crazy.
Yeah, I feel like I'm on the council now.
Okay.
All the talking heads.
So Jesse Fairchild, FDS, is available here he's going to give us a presentation on our security plan. Jesse, you can do a share screen if you want to run your presentation.
Yeah, certainly. I got 4 screens, so we're going to figure this out.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I got to figure this out because this is the first time I'm doing this, so bear with me here for a second. Jesse, I'm gonna promote you to co-host. Okay, let's see here.
Presenter view.
I think I just shared you with me.
I see a girl running.
Yeah, that's me. I gotta figure out how to get out of this crazy.
I gotta figure out how to move my PowerPoint around.
So Lee, what's new? Lee McGee,
Yes.
what's new?
Still here.
That's good. I'm very happy to see that.
I tested negative for COVID.
Good for you. That can change tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, in contact with a bunch of people from Texas, so
Oh, were ya?
played it safe.
Good for you.
Well, I see Grant now.
Hey, Ray,
Yeah.
just make him the host. Let him do his thing, and he can give you it back.
Can't get you. You guys are on the same screen as my presentation. I wanted to get you guys over so I could, you know, make eye contact and stuff.
I just made you the host.
Oh well.
No, you should be able to do your thing, Jesse. Ray, stop
Good,
sharing.
good job.
Ray, stop sharing.
I'm trying to figure out how to stop sharing.
If you go to the bottom,
Where's Chris when you need him?
hit share screen again.
It's not coming up though.
If you drop to the bottom of your screen, it should pop right up.
It doesn't.
Minimize your desktop. Get back on Zoom.
All right. Well, it's going to ask me which screen. Boom.
There we go.
You get her?
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. So this is an update to a project that you guys I don't know, I proposed last August, and we started last fall. Originally, we were looking at the scope with cybersecurity only, is the way I understood it.
Guys, excuse
Ray.
me, Jesse. Can some people mute their speakers? I'm getting nothing but feedback right now. Thank you. Go ahead, Jess.
Yeah, give it a try again.
Yeah, perfect.
So the original scope was looking at it from a cybersecurity standpoint. Then we had some discussions with Ray, and you guys were really looking for a complete security plan, and that would include like physical security aspects. So that's what we went ahead with, and you'll see what we prepared is more of a plan. I didn't try to write all of your physical security procedures, but I'll get to what we came up with, and I don't know. Then I guess the point of this meeting here is let's see what you guys think, the direction that we're going with it, and it's time to get feedback on what we've done so far. Between myself and Chris over at GoTech, what we do have the expertise on is to give you the policies, the real nuts and bolts about what you need for for cybersecurity. For your the two networks that you have there. Basically the enterprise business network, that most city employees use, and then the network that the utilities would use. WAN stands for wide area network, as opposed to just inside of a building. You have a ring of fiber media, and it connects all sorts of facilities all over the town. And then we're to provide an initial assessment, which you'll see we have completed, and cybersecurity policies, which we have drafted. So getting into I guess why this was kind of interesting, as I looked into it myself, and holy cow, municipalities, it turns out, are quite a target. This is cybersecurity related here, but you can see there's a dozen or so that they come up right away on a pretty quick Google search. Yeah, sorry, Lee, this is, depending on the size of your monitor, this can be kind of small. These were ransomware attacks, and that's the kind of thing where I guess somebody they'll put some type of malware virus in there, and they'll basically hold your system hostage or hold some of your information hostage. They'll lock you out of your important information until you pay them some amount of money. And it's funny, sometimes it isn't a whole lot of money, sometimes it is a lot of money. But it's pretty common now. So where did we start looking into it? This is also pretty interesting. It's such a hot topic now that everybody is into security, especially cybersecurity. All of our big regulatory type organizations, it's the buzzword. So FERC, which oversees your hydro operations, North American Electric Reliability Corp, NERC, that's more for on the transmission level, but also with the grid. The Department of Homeland Security has all sorts of information available. They have the numbers to call. The EPA, surprisingly, we'll get into that a little bit more. The National Institute of Standards and Technology, they actually prepare a lot of the documents for that you want to comply with when you are secure. And then there's many industrial cybersecurity standards. There's that ANSI standard there is one that's commonly used. But with FERC, NERC, DHS, EPA, all that stuff, it really is kind of a lot of alphabet soup, and it really doesn't start with, or doesn't answer the question, where do we start? So we dove into looking into FERC right away. FERC, again, has security requirements. It's hydro specific. Their security and cyber security plans are a requirement if you're a group 1 or 2 dam. That's typically larger dams with more people at risk, or a large capacity to the grid, where it'll cause a big upset if that asset were to be lost. But it's strongly recommended for all hydropower projects. We'll see that more on that in a minute. When you start with FERC, the process that you go through is a security checklist and then a cybersecurity checklist. And these don't get sent in. That's kind of very important. And I guess for the same reason that, I'm not going to go into any of the details of our assessment here, because this is a public forum. The same thing. Your security plans don't get sent into FERC because they could be pulled out with a Freedom of Information Act. So it's something that you develop, you need to implement. You can go over what you're doing with FERC. Typically, I believe when they come to do their safety, if you are a group 1 or 2 dam, they'll also go through your cybersecurity checklist. And Ray, you can correct me if I'm wrong, they may go through your security checklist even if you are a group 3 dam. I don't know.
Yeah, I believe that's true.
Yep. Their cyber end refers heavily to the NIST standards that I was talking about a moment ago. This is kind of interesting. A small dam, you can Google a New York dam cyber attack. The Iranians actually attacked a small dam in New York, much smaller than Norway's dam. In fact, it doesn't produce power. It turned out that it was a single gate. I think it was for flood control, and it happened to be in manual mode at the time that it was breached. It was breached through an unsecure cellular modem, which is not the way your network is set up. The point is just that it's a topic that's really coming to light, and attacks on small hydros really are happening. And then there's a lot of reports out there about how how at risk the critical, like the big Bureau of Reclamation's dams are, which is, I don't know, kind of funny that the media chooses to put that in their reports, but is what it is. So then I reviewed NERC. I honestly ended up basing what I put together for your plan on the North American Electric Reliability Corporation's documentation. It's pretty complete. Sorry, the print is small here again, but this is the sections of their critical infrastructure protection. It outlines means to protect both cyber and physical assets, and it's kind of across the board, as we'll see. It's typically written for, or it is written for, big utilities, the big generation and transmission companies, and and it refers also heavily, again, to NIST, the SP 800 standards. Looked into the Department of Homeland Security. They also, they happen to actually have 16 different sectors looking at security of our infrastructure. That they have an entire agency under DHS called the Cyber and Infrastructure Security Agency. That it isn't very old, maybe 2014. Again, you can see how this is it's just a hot topic, protecting our infrastructure. The dam sector is actually led by Department of Homeland Security. So there's information out there, there's standards out there, there's best practices out there for what you need to do to protect physical and cyber infrastructure. There's water and wastewater. There's an entire sector devoted to that with standards that are put together by the EPA. And then they actually have an entire cybersecurity sector as well, one of the 16. Looking more at water and wastewater, the EPA, they have this America's Water Infrastructure Act. It looks like it applies to towns just over the size of Norway. Norway is 2,700 people, correct? I think you're under 3,000.
2950, I believe.
You're getting close. Might want to look into this act before all those August and November babies are born. But this act, basically the meat and potatoes of it is that you would have a critical emergency response plan for attacks on the infrastructure for water and wastewater. It would be quite similar to the EAP that you have already for the hydro. Interesting, there were quite a few attacks on cybersecurity in the water and wastewater sector. A couple of headlines here. One was disgruntled employee, and one was a laptop that was, I'm not sure, I don't recall if it was compromised. It says here in the clip, I don't remember from the article if it was stolen from somebody or if it was, left laying around and picked up by the bad guys. But since quite a few of these point at the NIST standards, that's where we head. And actually, we used these standards are referred to in the cyber portion of the security plan that we've put together for you. Burke and Nurk call them out literally by chapter and verse. So that's a little bit of the common thread for it. In the industrial world, this is a Google screenshot of industrial cybersecurity, just again to show you what a hot topic this is. Kind of answering the why and the where do we start when we dive into this. You can see there's a lot of information out there, and it could be confusing. Everybody's a professional at this, by the way, and everybody can sell you something, and everybody can be a consultant that can take you through all of it. And that's what I've learned. There's a lot of places to turn. One thing that we wind it down to, they all seem to have these common elements. Essentially, I don't know if you guys see my mouse at all, but I'm pointing to the infrastructure on the top. You're trying to protect some type of infrastructure that you have. And your organization and your infrastructure is made up of your assets, the actual stuff that you have that you can kick, and then the people that work for you. And you shouldn't kick them, but that's the other thing you got. So you got stuff and you got people. You can categorize your stuff. It's one of the common elements of getting started in security is you have to categorize the things that you have. Are they critical? Are they not critical? And then when you decide that, okay, these are some things that are critical that we wouldn't want compromised, that would include both your physical assets and your cyber assets. So your wastewater treatment plant buildings are a critical physical asset. And the PLCs and the programs that are running on them are a critical cyber asset. And you might also, I imagine, all the personal information that you have in your system about people's billings or whatever it is, your information falls into this category of a critical cyber asset. With your, basically when it comes down to protecting your asset or to having your assets secure, there's a few different things that you have to do. One, you have to protect it. That's like locking doors and having a secure network is a physical and a cyber analogy there. And then you have to be able to detect that something is happening. So this is like alarms. And on the cyber end, it gets a little more complicated to detect that somebody is trying to hack into your system. That's where some of the pieces and parts that during our assessment, I don't think you quite have them in place yet. And Chris would agree with that when we were talking through your network and doing an assessment on it. Then you need recovery plans, and that would come, you know, how it's kind of all over the map. But how do you recover from any type of disaster, whatever that thing would be? If it's information stolen, or ransomware is holding you hostage, or somebody has released all of your water. You have to have plans to get back into place and practice those plans. When it comes down to the people end of things, in order to be a secure organization, you have to select your people carefully, and there's procedures and processes that go along with that. Notably, background checks are quite typical for this type of thing. Pre-hire screenings, background checks. Vendors coming on site, if they want to be or need to be left unescorted, it's typical for them to have a background check and then be trained on what to do around your cyber assets or even around your physical assets. They need to be trained on your security policies, where not to go, where to go, or else your folks need to be trained quite well and then escort people. That's how you keep it secure. And then you need a procedure for basically for disassociating with people when they retire or they're let go. There has to be ways to, you know, get their keys back, make it so they can't log into the network anymore, and you know, sever ties in a secure manner. So far we've gone through these standards. I've read quite a few of them. I honestly don't really have a cybersecurity or a networking background. Chris has a pretty darn good networking background. I have a pretty good controls background, and I do get exposed to what, you know, some of the bigger utilities are doing, and even back at Systems Control, where we built a lot of products for transmission companies that had to be NERC SIP compliant. So I've been through a lot of these standards here, and on this project we've completed the FERC cybersecurity checklist. That was really the assessment of your networks and where you stand cybersecurity wise. Did you guys get that checklist? Did not, if it was in your packets, I'm not sure. If not,
I didn't have it in my packet, I don't believe.
Yeah, it was included with the plan. It was the last section of the plan. The checklists were included.
I might have pulled it out as a separate document from the plan, Ray, but I did send it to you.
I included it in packet.
Okay. All right. And then you do have a draft security plan, and we've completed draft cybersecurity procedures. Those I didn't send those through. That's pretty nuts and bolts and down in the weeds stuff right there. Ray's gotten it, and we've gone over what Chris has prepared so far for that. So the process moving forward, and I'll get into a little bit later about really what's next and what I'm kind of asking from, you know, of you folks. The steps here along the way are assessing risks, as we've touched on, creating a plan as we've drafted one, then developing procedures to fill in the plan, what to do when, and then training people on those procedures. And it's important to practice those procedures. It isn't something that, it isn't like buying a car where you can pay money and then have the thing there and it's expected to work. It's more like, it's a process, and it has to continually be maintained and practiced in-house if it's going to work. So I put together a few examples, and again, it's public forum. These are examples that could apply to anybody. So I don't take this as this is what I've pulled out of your assessment, because this is really hypothetical here. But municipalities have a risk of somebody disturbing their flow of water, right? It's simple. They turn off the pumps, the tank runs dry. So your security plan has procedures to prevent this from happening. Both, the physical asset that you want to protect, the well house and the disconnect switch, you have a procedure to keep that secure. The procedure is that employees always lock the gate at the well house. And new hires are trained to do this. And every time somebody goes there, it's practiced. So you can see how this is, it's stuff that I'm pretty sure you folks already do this kind of a thing. But in a security type environment, you would write it down and you would train your employees, and then you would record that your employees have been trained. That type of thing. Another example, getting the ransomware situations here, it can be as simple as an employee clicking on an email that looks legitimate, but it's not legitimate. Your plan would require procedures to prevent this from happening. You'd have procedures for training and reminding, that's a big part of it, your employees not to open suspicious emails and what they look like. And when a new one comes out, alerting the employees of, hey, this month, here's what the new emails look like. Putting reminders up in the common areas of the workplace, that kind of a thing. You should have a network architecture that is segregated, where viruses that get into the front end where emails are can't get into the other parts of the network where information is stored, or control networks are, and that kind of thing. Your information should be backed up. That should be a procedure. Every such and such so often, things are backed up and then stored somewhere in some way that's secure. Network devices, there should be a procedure for always keeping devices up to date. And then the interesting thing is, you need a procedure for reporting the attack that it has happened. Who do you call? Who do you report it to? And then procedures need to be in place and practiced, or they won't be functional for recovering from this issue. Again, training and reminding employees is a big part of it.
Jesse, we have a lot of this in place, which is good. From the backup standpoint, obviously. Chris just gave us a presentation last council meeting that basically said it's hours for us to get, back on. I don't even know it's hours. It's very efficient for us to get back online if something happens. But yes, I just wanted to say that I'm just glad to see that we have some of these things already in place.
Yeah, definitely. Again, hypothetical, and help see why it's important, and some of the things that may be above and beyond what you currently have in place. Mm-hmm. Again, practicing, and you can have GoTech or other contractors, or companies specialize in helping crack your network. You can have simulated phishing emails sent. You can determine how many people clicked on it, what areas you need to train into, that kind of a thing. Practice locking things down and recovering data. Then I got just a couple more quick examples here, but it's kind of, you can see the risk kind of elevates. With automation available and remote control available, say a city employee has control of assets on a personal device. We have a risk that they set it down and some child at home presses buttons. Your security plan would want to address and prevent this type of thing from happening. So you would have procedures for what devices can really access that network, and what can remote access devices actually do? What can employees really do when they're remotely controlling things from home? Literally how long the devices stay unlocked. I have a customer. We've put together what's called managed devices for them to control their remote assets, and they only allow that screen to be unlocked for 1.5 minutes. And man, the employees that use them really complain, but that's there to secure them against this type of risk, because things get set down and you don't want somebody to touch it, child's play or whatever. And then employees need to be trained on it, and it helps to understand with the training what the risks are. So how to handle the devices, why we have security procedures, what we're trying to prevent and not have to recover from, and the risk of child's play in this case. And then that gets into practicing what to do in the event, you know, in the wake of an event. You have a risk out there, how do we recover from it? And then another, same example, same employee, same device as remote access. What do we do if we fired him that day? This is a risk to industry and municipalities, places that have employees that have control of things. This gets into we have to have a way to disassociate properly, securely, and quickly.
He loses all login access.
It's got to be quick. So I showed you the simple 5-step process, but what it really looks like is more like, you know, we do an assessment, you do an assessment, we work together, you assess risks, create a plan. You think of more risks or different risks, or prioritize your risks and say, you know what, that one is just too far out there. We're not going to plan for that one at this time. It's too far remote. There's these 3 other ones that are much more important. So that kind of revolves around. As you're developing procedures, the same kind of thing happens. Your idea of risk assessment can change. Then as you're training people, you realize that your procedure doesn't quite work. Again, it's quite important to train and of course practice, because they all point back to each other. As you practice it, you realize there's too many steps. It's not practical. We got to trim this thing down. All it really takes is one phone call or whatever. All of the steps in the process become quite iterative. They're really, like I was trying to say earlier, you can't just write a check and have a secure infrastructure. There isn't an easy button. You know, we're acting as a consultant in this role, and I'll tell you that consultants can't work in a vacuum. I'd caution you from pursuing this with somebody who says, yeah, you know, we'll come, we'll do a few interviews, we'll walk away, we'll bring you back a book and you'll be all set. It really needs a champion or champions inside your organization, and it needs prioritization. You can see some of the developing procedures that have to do with HR and background checks and letting people go. There isn't any way that, you know, that I certainly couldn't do that for you. You could bring in an HR consultant or somebody in that field. Similarly with physical security, I wouldn't try to claim that I'm an expert on it.
It's like anything, in my opinion, it's like anything else, right? You're supposed to be in work on time. If not, if you're late, you know, 5 times a month, there's accountability there, right? You have to have accountability in security.
Yeah. Yeah, you have accountability. Getting to where you have to have something that you're accountable for, it takes some work. You know, it's going to take development on your end and internally. So I wanted to bring that up to you guys and let you know that it's going to take city resources to get from A to B. The next steps here along the path are, should we keep moving forward, it's really classifying your physical and your cyber. We can go through and determine all of your critical cyber assets. We'd probably want to we'd talk with Ray and some of the supervisors and determine, you know, what's critical. I mean, there's some obvious locations that that I can tell you right now that are critical assets for, cities with utilities. But we'd want, your help and your buy-in, and you would kind of own that designation that you've determined these critical physical locations. We would, we'd like, would probably review the policies for cyber, at least with Ray, or bring them to council. That would be like closed session. I mean, we're not talking anything crazy here, but it's, it's how to handle emails and USB drives and there's other stuff like, that makes your network secure, patch management and updating things that honestly Chris may have briefed you on last time you had a meeting. But we review those, and then I guess what we're probably looking for here even is just a nod that says, hey, you're on the right track. We like the idea of having a plan. We like what's in the plan. Let's move forward. So color coded, kind of reiterating what I've been saying and just highlighting some areas of responsibility. There's a in the plan that I put forth is I based it on NERC, critical infrastructure protection, because essentially we're trying to protect the city's critical infrastructure. It was a good format. It's a little clunky in that they kind of mix up cyber and non-cyber things, because most organizations that would be transparent. But in the 12 main areas, you can see where we'd really want to be working together to develop recovery plans. Classifying assets, as I said, was the next step. Then there's some dark blue areas that are really IT and IT and network infrastructure intensive. And then there's some red areas that are really, the city is going to have to own those areas. Reporting and response, we've got, the DHS has some national numbers that you should call if you've got a hydro incident or a cybersecurity incident on water and wastewater. The EPA has places to report those to. But you have an EAP already for the hydro that has a reporting and response plan using your local resources. So that's why, that would kind of be on the city's end. Physical security, like I said, door locks and policies that go along with that. That's really going to probably take a security professional working with you guys. Now, when it comes to tying that into your network, well, then that's an IT resource that you'd probably be leaning on GoTech to do. A lot of times, we talk about access cards and door swipe things. Those have some type of a server or network infrastructure that sits back there and does all the thinking and owns the database and allows you to run the reports of who came into the building at what time and so forth. So those can be IT intensive also, but we'd want you guys to say, okay, here's what we want to secure and how we want to secure it. Just a couple more slides. Touching on the things I guess I was just reading off there on the red colored squares. Personnel and training. Background checks are important. An awareness program is important. Access management is what I was talking about. There are things to do to give somebody unescorted access in your facilities. And then ways to revoke access. So controlling access to your physical locations and the physical locations of your cyber assets is important. It starts with a physical vulnerability assessment. That really isn't my wheelhouse. I mean, I got some good ideas about how the Iranians might come over in trucks or something, but that's all based on old Rambo and Commando movies. So you're better off getting a professional involved there. Visitor control, maintenance, and then, all these systems, again, they require maintenance and maintenance agreements and plans. Even installing extra door locks requires, keys, maintaining a list of who has keys and what is your procedure for making new keys and who gets them, that type of thing. And then reporting and response. We kind of just talked about that with the very similar to your EAP. So the target that we're looking for, you need to end up with a practical plan. Practical meaning that it is able to be put into practice. And then you'll use it when contractors visit sites, when employees are hired, when summer help is, you go through the list, it becomes just part of your everyday work. And you'll have it there and you'll know what to do in a more security type breach when the bad guys attack situation. But it only works if you get it refined to that point by practicing all of the parts along the way. And we don't want it to end up being just another dusty book on the shelf labeled security plan for the city. It's really the plan requires you to have procedures, but you don't have to type it up and stuff it into the same book with the plan, because your procedures are really in your daily operations. You have a procedure to lock the doors or use key cards or not leave people unescorted. You have procedures in the office to turn off computers at night, or screens are supposed to lock within 5 minutes when somebody walks away from a computer or whatever. These don't have to be all in the security plan. Plan tells you have procedures. You'll have them in your HR procedure manual. When somebody retires, then the HR staff says, okay, here's the punch list. I call so-and-so or we don't even have to call. You guys have the access to, end their ability to log on to the SCADA network and revoke the email account and have all emails that are incoming forwarded to somebody else. That's the type of thing. So they can be policies that are woven elsewhere into your day-to-day operations manuals and training. So I guess I don't have one at the end that says questions, but that's the end of it. And so I'm open to any, questions on that. Ray had asked me to put together just another general presentation on what FDS is up to. I did do that. It wouldn't take me as long as this, but if another time is better or another part of this meeting is the better part, that's fine too. So.
Does everybody want to listen to the other part, or do you want to wait till a different time?
Can we do it underneath this? Appointments and presentations, or do we have to have it on another agenda?
Whatever it's your pleasure. We can continue on, or if you, for sake of time, if you want to invite Jesse back, we can do that.
It doesn't matter to me.
You want to just give us kind of a quick update, Jesse?
Yeah, sure. And there probably are some new folks. Jeff, I don't know if you've been on council since I've come in and talked with council.
I don't think I've seen you talking for just now.
All right. What are you guys seeing right now? Anything?
I think we're
Yeah,
seeing
your
the background.
kids would mind it.
Oh, about to jump over the edge? That's vacation with dad. I would drive anybody to do that. Oh, the external display is disconnected, it says. Holy cow, now I have you guys on every screen. All right, what do you see now? FDS overview?
Just you.
Okay. Oh, I don't know quite how to handle that. you host now.
I just put you back as host.
All right.
If you can't
Really?
get it, that's all right, Jesse.
I have an idea.
right.
Oh. Do I still have you guys?
Yep.
Okay. Now do you see it?
No.
No.
Oh, I bet since Ray put me back, then I have to share my screen again or something.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Sorry about that. We'll go ahead. I'm down to one screen. We'll share it. There. Now you got it?
FDS Overview 2020.
Yeah, great. So we only have a couple current projects that we're working on with you guys right now. The security plan is one of them. The other thing is Carl, my controls engineer, he's been working on making your water totalization work again. It's been just been a little screwy, and he's been tweaking it and talking it over with David Ball. So it was intermittent, a little bit flaky. And it's the code that was in there since the beginning when I started working on your and maintaining your SCADA system. Carl came up with, he said it's not quite the right way for the way Ignition does it. So he's implementing something else, and we're in the under observation phase. I thought maybe it'd be worthwhile talking over previous projects. 2019, this is what my invoices to you looked like. We did quite a bit of hydro work. We did quite a bit of wastewater work. Service calls was impressive. Actually, service calls for hydro does not include Unit 1 startup. We pulled that out. So we were there helping start up Unit 1. We put in some smoke and water detectors. I think we learned later that what you really needed was a fire alarm system that could actually call fire departments. And that's not something that your SCADA system was designed for. So I think that's been pursued with a fire alarm company and picked up elsewhere. We did put bearing temp sensors on Unit 4. And in 2019, we had just started the vibration sensor project, which actually has actually paid off. That protected the unit. Recently, I'm not sure how it all turned out, but when I responded to it, Scott or one of the guys, Brian, somebody had determined that there was a big piece of plastic wrapped around a bearing, and it was causing vibration that it shouldn't have been causing, and the unit didn't self-destruct. The vibration sensors caught it, so that was a win. That made us feel good. We did do some repair of, we sent out for repair some of the PLC cards that they're getting pretty dated. The one system is 20 years old, and that's kind of end of life. Those processors aren't really supported anymore. We can find, some of the IO cards are still available, but some of them we have to turn to used IO cards when we have to replace something. So we have talked to Scott, and you may have it in your budget to start upgrading your PLCs unit by unit. The other thing that we would do with that, and I might have a slide on it, is the programming in multiple PLCs is trying to do the same thing on your unit. So we have situations where they fight each other and it makes units squirrely. And I think we would streamline that and make them all the same family and just run one program. Wastewater treatment plant, we were doing the outfall chlorine last year, RAS valves, chemical pumps, lift station, temp sensors. We sold the sensors that was all materials, and modifying the acute tank and some service calls for the water. 2018, we didn't do as much as we did in 2019. We had the big project we did with wastewater was through Talsma Controls. We worked for him and picked up his scope at for the large project, for the large upgrade that you had there. we helped start up Unit 2 when the guys came from over from Slovenia. We had, you know, probably fairly usual amount of service calls at the hydro. I do have some things to think about. I always try to plug Ray on this one and Scott when I get a chance. A little bit of sales work here. I'm a certified NFPA certified electrical safety compliance professional. There's a bunch of acronym letters for you. Anyways, we're kind of experts at electrical safety here, and OSHA requires all employers to have an electrical safety program. So one thing to think about is your safety program up to date, and some things that we could do with that are arc flash risk assessments and or electrical safety training. The requirements are a little different. Your hydro and substations are utility, falls under a different OSHA category, and water and wastewater, though, are industrial facilities. You might say, well, my employees never work on anything there. You are required by OSHA, if you have a contractor in to work on things, the contractor needs to be able to look at the equipment and assess the electrical risk. And that's what the labeling that comes out of an arc flash risk assessment does for you. Some other things to think about. Unit 1, you know, there's 2 stator coils in it. No, it looks like there's 2 bypass stator coils. Ames did a repair on one in 2016. There was a small short and the unit kept tripping offline, and Ames came up and bypassed one of the coils. About a year later, when they were doing a little bit of welding above the unit, this tiny little weld BB went in there and caused a short. I worked on it at night with Tony Giuliani, and I don't know, I can't believe how he found it. You know, we just crawled underneath that thing for hours looking at every coil with flashlights, and then he found it, and we cut out that coil, and you know, it's kind of a short procedure. You cut it out and you just bypass it. You bring 2 other coils together and you crimp them and tape them up, and the thing works. But it does start making hot spots in the unit, and I'd recommend that you start monitoring it frequently, you know, with thermographic imaging. And Unit 1 puts out a little more current and a little more power now with redoing it. All the literature I read on this says that you should be planning for a rewind of that unit. So, and I don't know how much rewinds are, but I've been told they're on the order of $1 million. So I wanted to just get that one out there. We don't rewind units, but I can help you select somebody or whatever. But I want to point that out, that Unit 1 it does have a couple of bruises in it. It was a 2 megawatt unit. Now it's I've seen it put out up to 3, and it's had some mysterious trips this year. So some things that we want to look at are, why are these happening? I've been told, you know, trips during your peak electrical usage can bump you up about $50,000 a month. So there are things that you guys really don't want to happen. And I have a hunch that it has to do with the unit putting out more power, and the settings in the relays and the settings in the exciter. We're getting kind of technical here, but I don't believe that they were updated for more power. I've talked it over with some experts out there, the folks that make exciters and the folks that make relays, of course. And we did get a quote from SEL for $10,000 to review the settings. It's that's steep. But when we start comparing it to the cost of a trip, maybe it is worth thinking about. I've talked to Basler, some of their experts, and he points me to a couple of settings, like the one that we think it trips out the most on is 40Q. And he said that it's awfully tight. It trips in 200 milliseconds, 0.2 seconds when it's out of a certain range. It probably should be widened out. Then the settings in the excitation system, they're all typed in for a 2 megawatt unit. And there were some things in there that just don't, out of the box looking at it, it just doesn't look right. It looks like it would act flaky, and it does act flaky. But we can probably, we can reprogram the decks. I can take their word for it. I can widen out one setting. We don't yet have the skill set or the experience to completely develop generator settings. And so I would hesitate to dive in, and I would probably turn to experts who do that to come up and totally redo all your settings. It is an expensive process. So that's why it's a thing to think about. We are trying to collect a little more information. I think I might go down there and work with Scott and just do one thing on your excitation, and then we'll watch it and see what it does. I think honestly, it's having a hard time reacting to grid disturbances. In the early summer, and the winds come and the storms come and all the air conditioners start and the grid kind of sags and it gets a little out of whack. Then I think we lose unit 1. We've been talking to Scott about maintenance, and I've even talked to Scott Klabundy about this. It's a good thing. We really need to get your drawings updated and find out all of the protection devices that you guys have on those units, and locate them, put together manuals, put together a list, and help those guys really put together a checklist for doing maintenance and at the device level, knowing that a protection device is functioning the way it should. It is calibrated, and then does it protect the unit when it's supposed to. And then data. I recently talked to Jason Brown, and apparently you guys have the AMI meters. You have tons and tons of data about the electricity you've sold. Well, the SCADA system tracks the electricity that you produce, and we read the WPPI meter, so we honestly know the electricity that goes both ways, which if it's coming in, then it's electricity that you purchased. And I think we can put that information together. And what I told Jason on the phone is it sounds like you guys should really have a report every month about what your losses are and how they, what they add up to in terms of dollars, and then, a targeted approach to reduce your losses. Every transformer that's out there puts off heat. That's a loss. That's a kilowatt loss. Transformers that are sized inappropriately for the load would either put out too much heat because they're too small, or if they're too large, they're just sitting there and putting out heat, and you're melting the snow, and you're not making money on that power. You still have areas that are low voltage. I imagine that all falls into the master plan that Krause has for you. So some other things to think about. There might be data that we can mine that would be valuable to you. And then we have just maybe, what do you got? Yeah, just one proposal is sitting out there for the city at this time, other than things that I think Scott and Ray have brought to budget that we haven't really put formal proposals for. We do have another one out to Bob over at Wastewater. They'd like to modify the way the EQ tank is controlled. Right now, we have 4 modes of operation in there, and they share set point values. So the alarm point in manual will be the same as the alarm point in auto, and so forth. He has to go in and adjust those various set points when he switches from one mode to the other, and they'd rather not do that. So Carl's put together a pretty darn detailed proposal. I used it to make this slide, but it's got a lot of details about what we would exactly what we would do and what we propose. And that's sitting out there. I don't know if that's made it to council or not. That's it. Oh, Candy fell.
Does anybody have any questions for Jesse?
No.
Well, thank you, Jesse. We sure appreciate you giving us the updates.
Thanks, Jesse.
Yes,
Yeah,
thanks, Jesse.
You're all really welcome. I really
Appreciate
appreciate working with you guys. I'm gonna go home now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll talk to you later. Thank
Good night.
Right.
Make Ray the host again, Jess.
Will do. not sure if I know how to do that. Hey, all right.
Yeah, you got it.
Wonderful.
All right, I'm back to being host.
All right, then we'll move on to communication. Ordinance 435, in order to regulate and control the operation of snowmobiles. Yeah, just went through this in our public hearing. Do we have any questions? If not, I need a motion.
Do we have to motion it, Candy, with the striking of
Yep,
what was that? Ray, what was that? A?
Yeah, A.
I motion that we pass ordinance 435 with the stipulation that we strike A.
Support.
And that would be paragraph A is just is the entire it says purpose, so it'd be A4A, just for clarification.
That we strike paragraph A, section 4A.
Support.
Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Mr. Moraro,
Yes.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew,
yes.
Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
We'll move on to ordinance 437, addressing floodplain management. Have a motion?
I'll make a motion that ordinance 437 be approved and that staff be directed to make publication and notice as charter mandates.
Second.
Support.
Mr. Moraro,
Yes.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew, Mrs. Brew,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Menegini.
Yes.
Move on to resolution 2020-14. Michigan Community Resolution Intergovernmental Agreement to Manage Floodplain Development for the National Flood Insurance Program. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion resolution 2020-14 be approved.
Support.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Mr. Moraro.
Yes.
Move on to approval Strawberry Lake Park lighting. Mr. Anderson.
Hey, thank you, Madam Mayor. It's something that we talked about actually back in budget hearings. And we also, as we were going along with our Strawberry Lake project, in the particular phase one of the project covered the pedestals, but it did not account for the lighting. And at that time, the reason we did that is because we were thinking that we would be able to, the DDA was looking at possibly the lights on Main Street and then moving those light posts over to Strawberry Lake. So the DDA was looking at taking on that project, but the DNR told us they would not support any used material on the project. So we did during the course of the summer. We got or early last year, we got an initial estimate on the lights, and we did bring that to the Parks and Rec committee this last month. And based on what we're hearing from the public really would like to see us finish the lighting, and also we'd also like to get the stanchions up so before winter. So we priced out a number of different options, and we have that standard. It's a standard parking lot style LED, and we're requesting the council to approve that particular quote for $20,039. We did talk to them today, and it's an 8-week lead item on that particular order.
So will we still be able to do that this year?
Yes, if we put the order in, if this were approved tonight, we would move forward tomorrow, get that order in, and we would get those light poles and get those installed before the snow flies, before deer season.
I like it.
Well, we had our Park and Recs meeting last month. We were down at the lake. And I was surprised as to how many people were walking and riding around that thing on their bikes. I knew it was busy, but I didn't realize it was quite that busy. And that was a cool night. So I can imagine on a nicer night how many people would have been down there.
I think it's a good idea to move forward with this.
The only question I would have, guys, is do we just want to go to standard park, and do we want to spend a little bit more to get a nicer light? Or
Well, we actually reviewed the fixture and the pole compared to some of the other options that we were looking at, which maybe be a little more decorative. And we were impressed with the quality of the pole, with this option. So
I think we all agreed on the Park and Recs that pretty much simple is the way to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know where you're going though, Jeff. Some of these poles are pretty fancy. But do we need it?
it's just, I don't know, whatever. I mean, it looks to me like the money's, there's not a whole lot of difference in some of it, So, but if Parks and Recs want to go that way, I'm fine with that.
I have a motion.
I'll make a motion that the Strawberry Lake Trail lighting be approved for price not to exceed $20,039.
Support.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Mr. Marraro,
Yes.
Mr. Pop.
Yes.
Move on to approval citywide garage sale sign ordinance.
So the last item here for communications, we received a phone call last week that because of COVID, the normal citywide garage sale, organized garage sale, was canceled, and there are still residents that want to have a coordinated garage sale. It's not going to be, it's not going to have one main coordinator, but it'll have one day where the people are going to have their sales. What we typically do is we suspend the sign ordinance for that weekend to allow the people to put signs out, typically near the highway. But we have a whole list of where we suspend the sign ordinance, and it says temporary signs can be installed starting on Thursday, August 13th, and then removed by 6 p.m. on Sunday, August 16th. That would be the sale day would be August 15th. And then it has another list. The signs shall not be placed on signposts, light posts, or utility poles. Please don't put them on our utility poles. That's it for sure. Shall not be allowed on the main street from 4th Avenue to Railroad Avenue, which includes Pocket Park and US Convention. They must have your address on the sign, and violation of these rules, we will remove the sign. So.
Any other questions? If not, I need a motion.
I'll make the motion the city sign ordinance be suspended for the weekend of August 15th and that the current sign regulation be modified for the following rules.
Second.
Support.
Mr. Kramer,
You're breaking up.
Yes.
Kramer, Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Mr. Marraro,
Yes.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew.
Yes. Anyone wishing to address the council on any item will be muted and given an opportunity to make their comments. State your name and address for the record. Do we have anybody, Rick?
Okay, so we do have Mike Barker, who is with us. I'm trying to unmute him. Let's see. I think maybe what I'll do is I'll just promote him over the panel.
Tons of feedback.
He wanted to give a presentation for work that they're going to do over on Knight's Kingdom.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Mike, are you there?
Hey, this is Alex Barker. Mike Barker is here with me. I'm getting a little bit of feedback.
Lots of feedback.
Hello, hello.
Hello, are you there?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, been listening. Yep, Mike Barker's here as well. I'm Alex Barker. We're representing Community Bible Chapel and wanted to share with you guys what we would like to do in Knight's Kingdom. I do have a presentation here, but I think I need you to let me share my screen, or I think we sent you the presentation as well, but
I did put the presentation in your memo over the weekend, so you guys had a chance to look at it. And what I can do, and this is of course challenging, we did this the last time, but if I promote, let's see. There you go.
He's changed it. Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, so you're there now. I'm going to try and I'm going to make you a host, and then you can do share screen. Okay.
All right.
Just remember to make me back the host when you're done.
I'll think about it. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Wonderful. That wasn't too painful. Okay, so just to give everyone a little bit of context here, my dad and I grew up here. I'm familiar with some of your guys' last name because I went to school here with, I think, some of your relatives. I remember when Knight's Kingdom was built. I remember climbing and hanging out there, and I go there now with my two little girls, 6 and 8. And I've got a few splinters, and I'd like to talk to you about those splinters and what we want to do about it. So there's a few projects we've identified where I think follows the 80-20 rule, trying to make the most impact for doing the least amount of work. So the south corner stairs could use some replacement in wood sections, some railings for the chain stairs could be replaced or at least fixed. And the railing on the south side of the platform over by the box area, sand some of the rough boards. My hands can be a testament to that. Tighten up loose screws, give it a nice coat of paint, and clean up the sandbox, and provide a few more yards of sand. We took some pictures early in the year. You can see the leaves are not on the trees yet. It's kind of hard to tell with that, but you can kind of see some of the paint has faded in certain places, and some boards could be replaced or sanded. There's one of the chain links that leads up to one of the platforms that definitely could be just fixed. Maybe some of that red, I don't know what it's called, but plastic covering. And this part here, which is next to the, I think it's next to the sanded area, you can't, there was once a railing there that's probably been bust over by some large kid that just pushed it over with too much force, but that would want to be replaced. We did speak with Forsland, and we did get an estimate. We also have a detailed estimate that I believe we sent to Mr. Anderson. And our estimate came to be around 1,800. And is that the last slide? Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, so we're hoping to do this in September if approved. We've probably got about somewhere between 10 to 20-ish people that can volunteer for a day, potentially two. We were hoping to do it earlier this year, but you know, there's this worldwide crisis going on, so that was delayed. But we're definitely excited to get this project rolling with your approval.
So go ahead.
So are you looking for us to pay for the materials?
Yep. We talked about that in the Parks and Rec meeting. We had a tentative list of supplies that we were looking at. And we talked with Forsland, and yeah, we were hoping to submit this to you guys for reimbursement. Correct.
Okay. Well, I think it's a great idea. I think that playground definitely needs to update it, and it's great that we have community members who want to put the time and effort into that.
Yeah, we're definitely excited to get rocking and rolling.
So,
does anybody else have any questions?
Well, as Mike mentioned, this was brought to the Parks and Rec committee. It gave the presentation. There was pretty much unanimous support from the group, and but they didn't quite know how council wanted to handle the estimate. So that would be something for council to decide tonight if you would like to.
Parks and Rec's budget, no?
It would be out of Parks and Rec's budget. It's out of the general fund.
I have no problem with it. I think we should move forward, and like I said, it's greatly appreciated that we got people from the community that want to come out and help us out and spiff that park up a little bit, because it is getting a little worn down, and it's used a lot.
Agreed. We voted it now or what? Or are you gonna put it on the agenda for next week? Or 2 weeks?
Do we need to do a vote on that, Grant?
If you're spending money, you should have a vote for the expenditure of public funds.
Okay. Can we do that right now?
I know there was a late addition to the agenda, but it wasn't on the agenda per se, was it?
That's
No.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't on the agenda for the actual move, but I mean, it's council's privilege if they would like to move on it right now or bring it back at the next meeting.
Well, otherwise, they're not planning to do it till September, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you can just vote, if he's, Grant, you're more comfortable adding it to the agenda, just have us vote in 2 weeks.
I mean, I mean, at the risk of putting substance over form with the delay, it sounds like council is in agreement. I think maybe it could just be a housekeeping issue for the next agenda, just to have it on the agenda and let's do course. Just to that's what we've done consistent in the past without not wanting to add late agenda items. But I think we've gotten a kind of a tip of the hat to these folks. This has been long overdue, and I would join with Mayor Bruin thanking them for putting forth this effort.
Okay, well, we will add it on to our next meeting at the end of August for official approval. But I don't want to speak for everybody, but I agree with Grant. You know, I think everybody would greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yes.
100%.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, and
Thank you.
for taking the time to talk to us.
Okay, Madam Mayor, we have one other attendee. I'm gonna allow them to talk, and if they want to say something to the council.
Okay.
Getting a lot of feedback again, everybody.
Okay, I guess not. So we have no public comment.
All righty. We'll move on to mayor council comments. Scott?
I just have one. Ray, how are we doing with our citations? I mean, are we out patrolling and looking at like garbage and everything else like that around the city?
I really had a hard time understanding the question.
Yeah.
We gotta mute some mics.
How are we now? Okay, I got something about how are we with issuing citations out around the public with garbage and the grass and everything else? Are we still issuing citations?
Yes, we are working on it on a regular basis.
Okay, because I just want to make sure there's one specific area that I have concerns about, that it seems like it's getting worse. And if we're going to have construction going on there, I don't like seeing people having outsiders come in and see what we have. There's a section up by Summit that it just does not look good.
Okay, I think I know which is a particular property.
Yeah.
And we've looked at it, both the police chief and myself, and they're in a rural residential, basically farm designation. And
okay.
There are a few things that we've worked with them on, but some of the areas that we've been getting complaints, they're actually not out of compliance for that zoning district.
Okay.
So if it's something specific, get it to me and we'll evaluate it. We'll always evaluate when somebody gets something.
Yeah. Okay.
So
how are people following up on citations that are issued? I mean, is everyone complying?
Yeah, we there's it's like everything, 95% is really pretty smooth, and 5% it's a struggle. And so, we sometimes have to go a little farther with that 5%, but overall we get compliance. Eventually we'll get compliance. So, like I said, 95% of it, we never get to that point. We notify them, they work with us, and they get compliant.
Okay, another question that goes back pretty far. Are we able to pay online now, our utility bills?
So we have a start date that's coming up in September. We actually have a date, and so we have to, we will be at that point be paying online. So
okay.
As soon as I get concrete details, I'll get that out to you.
Okay, awesome. That's all I have for tonight.
I have nothing, Candy.
Just echoing Scott's comments. We had talked about this a bit before, Ray. That huge dumpster parked in front of that home, that's in compliance.
Yeah, I've talked with the police chief regarding, some of those issues, and he'll go. We've talked with we typically will talk with the attorney or with our city attorney, and I mean, as long as he's it's a working dumpster, so he's working on a project or something, it is in compliance.
What's the timeline?
I don't have that in front of me, Jeff, but that's something I have to go talk to the chief about again.
Yeah, if you could, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That's all I've got.
Lee? Lee, do you have anything?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
For sure?
for sure.
Okay. Going back to the cybersecurity stuff. I don't know. To me, it sounds like it's going to be a lot of money. But when, I mean, you're dealing with FERC, NERC, DHS, EPA, NIST, there's so many of these different organizations. And what I'm afraid is, like FERC, they said they strongly recommend that we get into this program or a program. And to me, that just sounds like more mandates are coming. But we got to stay on the good side of FERC too. And it sounds like this could be very expensive. And I mean, I can't see why anybody would want to hack our system. I mean, we're just a little rinky-dink place in the middle of nowhere. And if Elon Musk and Bezos gets hacked, what chance do we have if somebody decides to do something? Now, that's just my feelings on it. And one last thing before we go here. For all you football fans, Tom Brady's 43 today. That's all I have.
I have nothing. Ray?
Well, the only thing I wanted to bring to council is that over the last couple months, you know, I've put in memos that we've working with WPPI as member. We have some funds that are available for community betterment and you know, certain types of programming. And this past year with COVID, they came up with a new program which will help some of our service organizations that help out you know, the people affected by the unemployment, COVID issues. And so, you know, I've been asking for different types of ideas on those, what we could use the monies for. And in this next newsletter, I wanted you to know, in the public, watch your newsletter, that, you know, we're going to move forward. I, you know, have the organizations contact the city hall and have some grant money available for those organizations, you know, helping out our more disadvantaged residents. So that's something I just want to move forward on. We need to move forward on it because that has a timeline on that money. So just wanted to see and get those organizations to reach out and contact us. So that's all I have.
Grant, did you have anything?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Mr. Marraro,
Yes.
Mr. Pop.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned. Ray, will you disconnect me, please?
Okay.
Hey, Grant.
Have a good night, everyone.